What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Dead Noise. I'm Chris, and with me today, through the power of Zoom, is the drummer for the New Jersey-based alternative metal band Palisades, Mr. Aaron Rosa.
Woo-hoo. How you doing? How you doing?
Oh man, it's been a long week today. How are you?
Well, we were saying before, we're starting to like get a rehearsal stuff like spot all set up, and our crew is starting to fly in. Lou just flew in this morning. Our front of house sound guy is coming in in like a couple of hours, so it's starting to finally we're everything is done. The set is done. We're all just waiting to get in the room and practice together. So it's crazy. It's fucking surreal.
So you guys have been basically, have there been any remote rehearsals, or have you guys all just been practicing on your own?
We've been all been practicing on our own lately because it's been really interesting because Earl especially is back in the band, and it's funny to say back in the band because it's now, we're like retiring from touring and all that stuff. And we have an original lineup back that meant a lot to a lot of people. So having Earl back in the band is cool, but on a technical aspect, we have to do. He played such a unique role in the band as like our DJ producer, and doing that kind of thing live. We are now like when he departed the band, there was a huge change of how we had to run our show and how we ran our set and what we were doing musically. So having him back, we're like revisiting the old ways of doing things, but with the new sounds. And like it's really cool because it's like it's in a mind games approach to what we've done for the last three records. So everything
Nice.
that Earl wasn't a part of, we're gonna bring it so hard, it's gonna be crazy. So yeah, it's been really interesting to see how like we have to change and adapt to the way that we're going to be doing things for the next two shows. So yeah.
So, for anybody who somehow doesn't know about this, you guys are departing as a band. You have
Yeah.
two farewell shows coming up this weekend at the House of Independence in New Jersey.
Yep.
I really don't know how to approach this topic because number one, I'm devastated as a fan, but like,
Yeah.
um, for the sake of journalistic integrity, whatever that is, I
Sure.
feel like I have to ask, how did you guys come to this point, and what made you decide to call it quits as a active band?
You know what? It's man, this is a it's a tough it's really tough to talk about. But basically, on the last album cycle that we had, the Reaching Hypercritical album cycle, we thought that things were going a certain way. And things just kind of happen, and things happen out of the blue that we were not aware of. Um, I don't want to get like too into it because I feel like there'll be a proper time and place to get that kind of information out. But what I will say is that we were not expecting to get to this point. So it was very. We were getting ready to leave on a tour for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in 2 weeks prior to that time. So, um, once Brandon decided to leave the band, we had a decision to make, and that was, do we just call it quits? Do we keep on going as a band? And I think that the thing that we wanted was the past 12 years has been something that has been so special for us as friends and as people. And like one thing that I don't know if a lot of people understood was once Lou left the band, there was definitely a time where we all kind of had our separation, and we had some time to like grow apart and heal from certain things that may have happened in the past and like relationships. um but Lou and both Earl were always there still, even when Brandon was like fronting. Earl's always been a big part of our friend group. Lou's a big part of our friend group. It's like when we played shows and Brandon as the singer, Lou came out and like did high and low with us and like
Oh,
hung out. And it was like, okay, like we all still get along. We're all still homies and we're really close and we're friends. But the way that the way that things transpired at that particular point, we just came to a decision where we were like, okay, at this point, Lou has already been out of the band for 3 years. He has his life together. He's got a job. He's got his own thing going on, and we're stoked about that. So, all of us have also been kind of doing our own things outside of Palisades. Palisades is always the vessel to get us to wherever we wanted to go, and we were still very invested in it. But um, it just got to the point where it was like, I don't think that there could have been a third singer for Palisades, and I don't think that Palisades would have wanted to look for another option. I think that there was a very particular brand with Lou. There's a particular voice that you get used to for 4 albums and you grow with that person. And Brandon was definitely a part of that for 3 records. And I'm not going to deny that. But, there is one version of Palisades, and that's the version that we're going to end it with. So there's only one way to go, and it's with the original 5 people that were in the band. And it's the 5 people that are still really close together. And like, we're all family, and we've always considered each other family no matter what we've gone through. So I think it was interesting to see a lot of people like be very excited that they're both back. And also it's kind of sad because it's like, you're getting it only in a certain way, but at least you're going to get it. And we're going to go up and beyond as far as bringing that energy for the live stream, and everyone can, enjoy Palisades the way that it's meant to be enjoyed. That's a long fucking answer, but
I love it.
yeah,
This is why I enjoy talking to these kinds of musicians and asking these kinds of questions, because
yeah,
as a fan, I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of people are.
yeah.
How did Lou and Earl react when you guys approached them about coming back for these farewell shows? What was their reaction, and how excited were they? How on the fence were they?
I think it was pretty close. It was, you know, at that point, it was very tumultuous. We were all feeling something, and I remember there was very specifically a night where I believe it was the night or the night after Brandon left. I think it was actually the night that we announced that Brandon left or whatever. And it was actually Earl, Xavier, Matt, and myself when we were all just like hanging out, and we were just thinking about it, and we were like, "Fuck, like, do you want to come back in the band?" And we're gonna just do that. And Earl was like super gung ho about it. Lou was a little bit more apprehensive because it was just kind of like, is that something that I want to do? And like that's a reality because like you could have this thing and it could feel like it's when you have a situation like what happened with us, it could feel like it's out of desperation. And it's like, okay, we got one more thing. You just want to like come back in the band and we'll do it and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's like, hey, there's an option here. Like, obviously, we're all still cool. We've have talked about writing music in the future together outside of Palisades at that time, too. So we were like, if you want to do this, this is the option that we have on the table, and we could actually make this work. And I think that we could make the fans like really happy. And we all came to that conclusion. And there was some apprehensiveness, and it did take some time, and it took a couple of conversations to all get on the same page. But I think the initial want and the initial love for like the music and the fans was there. That it was kind of like, okay, let's wait for things to kind of die down a little bit. No pun intended for one of our last songs, but like you know we just had to be all level headed about stuff and just kind of let things go by for a little bit before we were able to make that decision on what and when and where and how. So yeah, they were definitely on the fence at first, but obviously we're at the point now, so it's all good.
I mean,
Yeah.
a week out, I think it's too late to turn back. So,
Well, you know what? It's happened before, so I don't know. We'll see.
mm,
No, just kidding. It'll happen. The shows will happen. There's too much riding on this. So
there's too much on the line.
yeah, yeah.
I remember hearing when I talked to you guys back in August that
Mm.
you guys were talking about already making new music, even though you just put out an album the month before.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that there are unreleased cuts from Erase the Pain, self-titled Mind Games, as far back
Mhm.
as the catalog goes.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that those unreleased songs see the light of day officially, or is that just something that's off the table completely?
I don't think it's off the table at all, actually. We've talked about, and what's nice too is like now that we aren't on a label, like technically our contract with Rise Records ended with the Reaching Hypercritical album cycle. So
Mm.
we are an independent band, even though our legacy is on Rise Records, and they were awesome to work with. They were a great label. But as far as like the unreleased material, we can release it. In what form, I don't know yet, because I do know for our VIP, we will be showing some of those unreleased demos and cuts. And like one cool thing that we're doing is going through some demos and just showing what our writing process was like. So that's going to be cool for fans to see. And they'll get to hear like reimagined versions of, I'll be honest with you, because I really don't care. But we had, oh, I think we did an entire version. If not, maybe there's only like a couple of songs that we didn't get to do, but there was a version of Erase the Pain that we did that was all reimagined. And like, it was kind of like the reanimation version of Erase the Pain. And that never got to come out. But um, we did release a snippet of it for the video that we released with the live stream. As the live stream trailer, there's the alternate version of War, and you can hear kind of what we were going for. I think at some point we'll probably put those out. When and how, I don't know yet, but we definitely do want to do something. I mean, I have two acoustic music videos that never came out on my hard drive for like Fragile Bones and oh man, we did Erase the Pain, and we did one for War, but the footage for War was corrupted, so that one never got to like really come to fruition. But there is a version of like Fragile Bones and Erase the Pain that didn't get to come out. I would love to put those out and just I think over time we'll keep like putting shit out for the fans. So like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like I wish I could have heard that in 2018 or whatever. So but yeah.
It helps keep the legacy alive, right?
Yeah, it does, and it's just cool because at certain times in your careers, you might have your hands tied behind your back and you can't release the things that you want to release. So we do have songs, I mean, even up until the point of a few months ago that we were writing the music. So there was a planned sixth album to come out. So who knows? Who knows in the future? You
Oh
never know.
man.
You never know what'll happen.
I don't know how to phrase this next question, but
Mhm.
you guys put out an announcement shortly after your both shows sold out that you weren't going to be appearing at a certain festival who I won't name that may or may not be Bamboozle Fest.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
was that something that was discussed before you guys decided on these intimate farewell shows, or was that just a faux pas on their part and it was never really in the works?
Um, Okay, so this is, I don't know what I can and what I cannot say, but as far as what I feel comfortable saying about the situation is that there was originally only supposed to be one farewell show, and that was the 25th on Asbury Park. It sold out in an hour, and we were like, "What the fuck?" Like, we did not expect this at all, and we were like, "Do we add a second night? Do we turn this into do we do a California date? Do we do a Chicago date? Like, do we do a Florida? Like, what is this? We haven't, we never had a show sell out in an hour. We've had shows sell out, but not ever that quick. And granted, the circumstances are so special and unique and different. Um, so original plan was do the show as our last ever headlining set, and Bamboozle was supposed to be the last festival.
Mm.
Um, some complications happened. So we decided to add the second night. And instead of doing a 30-minute set to say goodbye to everybody, we decided to do the live stream. And we're going to just do a full hour. And I think it's going to be an hour and a half set.
Mm.
So it's going to be over 20 songs. We're going to have oh man, it's gonna be fucked up. It's gonna be so crazy. Like there's a lot of surprises, there's a lot of cool shit. And like honestly, that's the way that we want to go out. Like we want to go out on our terms. Um, but I guess at the end of the day, there just wasn't a there was a miscommunication on someone's end where we did not confirm the festival.
Mm.
So so they went on and promoted it as such. But our fans came first in that aspect, so we decided to do that. And it would have been great. Like I would have loved to have played that festival. That was a festival that we grew up watching and going to and playing Battle of the Bands to play this festival, selling hundreds of tickets over the course of months to do this thing. We never got to play it, and like to finally get it, that kind of sucked to have to say no to it. But I think that what we're doing for us is more important at this point. No offense to Bamboozle, like it's cool, but
I'm
yeah,
I'm glad you said that though, because the fact that you are playing an hour and a half long set, that's something I wish I could have seen live, because I remember I've seen you guys live twice, and I remember both times being able to talk with you guys and being like, you guys gotta come back as headliners. I want to hear so many more songs.
yeah, I
Um,
know.
but I'm just glad I'll be able to be there in spirit thanks to the live stream.
Yes,
So let's talk about that.
sure.
Obviously the second show was added.
Hmm.
What went into the decision making between adding a second show and a live stream as opposed to upgrading to a larger venue for one night?
So we tried looking for a venue, and every venue had something else going on, and it sucked because we knew that we would be able to probably sell out anywhere that we would have went at that point. Maybe like not the Prudential Center or anything like that, but clearly not. But like the problem with New Jersey is there's not a whole lot of venues that are independent. And when you have a company like a Live Nation that owns a lot of the venues, like all that stuff's already sorted out. So House of Independence, we've had so many shows there. We played there a bunch. We know the promoters; they're really good to us. Um, it's in Asbury Park. It's basically like as close to a hometown show as it gets for us. Because if it was Starland Ballroom, that would be like it's 20 minutes from our houses. But house is like as good as it gets. And what's cool about the venue, it holds like 600 to 700 people, so it's not like a small show whatsoever. It's going to be like fucking mayhem in there, and it's cool. But we did look for other venues to put the shows at, and once we couldn't find it, house did have the Sunday open. We tried getting a Friday because we felt like Friday would be a little bit better for the weekend and for people coming in, but ultimately we had to just settle with the Sunday. But it's fine because we're getting a weekender out of it. Saturday is going to be the live stream. We'll have the after party after that. Sunday will be the very last go at it. But yeah, the live stream that just kind of came into the account that like there were so many fans flying in from not just different states, but we had people flying in from Belgium and the UK and Germany and like Austria and North Dakota, excuse me. Like where like there's just so many random places that people once the shows did sell out, they're like, can you please make a live stream? Like I'm all the way in Japan, I'm in Australia, I'm in Kansas, I can't make it. So, right away we're like, all right, we have to do this. Like we're not gonna just let this be one of those moments where whoever's there, that's it. Only those people got to experience it. Like this is a 12-year career and this is us saying goodbye. So we want everyone that wants the chance to say goodbye, they can. So the live stream was super important to us. And that was one of the first things that we really started trying to get done as soon as possible. And we're glad we're doing it. We got a great team and it's going to look great.
Who's shooting it?
So we're working with my friend Alex, who is the owner of Black Wolf Productions, and we're working with a guy Rob over at Shotwell Productions. They're going to be doing all the live streaming, video work, streaming work. So they've been super awesome to work with so far. So we'll see how it goes. We got one shot at this, so I don't think we'll blow it. It'll be good. It'll be fun.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Well, as somebody who can't make it to New Jersey. I really appreciate that, and I know I'm not the only person that shares that sentiment. With the two shows, how difficult is it in deciding a set list?
Um, it's hard. You have songs that are clear favorites off of each album. And over the past 12 years, we've played the majority of those songs. I will say that there are a few songs that we rarely have played, and there's even a couple songs. Well, there's two songs we've never played live that we will be playing on one of the nights. So we try to we're obviously going to play Let Down. We're obviously going to play High and Low, but it's the shit that's on Outcasts and Mind Games and Self-Titled, especially. That's like, we want to do justice to our discography, mix it up, and throw in a couple of surprises. So when it came to certain songs, we were like, we never played that, or we only played that once. We should really do that because we've always had fans wanting to hear the song, and we never played it ever. Or we haven't played this song since 2013. How cool would it be to play it for like maybe half the song and then do like a kind of medley into something else? So the set list is easy in a way, but also those really special moments are very they were handpicked very carefully, I'll say. So those surprises, one surprise won't be on the live stream, but
Mm.
some of the other stuff will, which is cool. We have to give some of the people their own little moment for night two.
Oh, of course. That's understandable.
Yeah, so
Selfishly, I have to ask because I will be tuning into the live stream. Are
okay.
you guys going to be playing Fade?
Uh yeah, I'll say
Thank God.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, we will. There's again, what's cool about the songs that we're playing is we're doing songs that like we've altered throughout, you know, the years. We're like, oh, let's do this alternate intro, or we'll do this alternate ending, or we'll throw in this random part that we used to do back in the day. So Fade is one of those songs that was always really cool because live we did something really special with this piano intro. And actually, the live version that we were doing for the past couple of years is very similar to a version that we did for the reimagined version. Actually, the same thing with War. We actually mixed the reimagined version of War with the live version from the past 3 or 4 years. Actually, I
Oh,
would say the
wow.
past 3 years. Yeah, whenever we were touring minus COVID, so like 2019, we were playing that alternate version. So
Hmm.
there's going to be like different versions of songs that you normally would never hear. So that's going to be really sick too.
Sweet. I can't wait to
Yeah.
hear it then.
Yeah, no, Fade is one of those ones that was always like, okay, we should definitely like have a moment, do something cool, have it feel more intimate, and then once the song really kicks in, it fucking soars. So we're excited for those kind of moments.
That's awesome. So, where do you guys, as musicians, as people, where do you guys go from here after this? Do you try and form another band together that's not called Palisades? Do you go off and do your own solo projects? Do you go into the 9 to 5 world? Or is that just something that's not in the air right now?
I think that was always something that was as you get older and once, certain milestones in your life start happening, it you start to figure out ways to do other things. And, whether it be making another income or pursuing another hobby or interest or whatever. Um, I think we've always been trying to figure some of that stuff out. And the good thing about with us is like we're always very creative with each other. So like let's say if I'm particularly working on a song by myself, I'll, hit up Xavier or Earl or Matt and be like, hey, like, how does this sound? Like, what do you think of this? Give me some feedback or we'll work on it together or whatever. So we're all still creative with each other as much as we probably will be doing our own separate things. There's certain things that I can't talk about yet,
Mm.
but as far as bands and other things go, like Xavier is a really, really good producer and engineer, as well as Earl. Matt, well, I mean, like we never really did co-writes. We always like primarily tried to do Palisades as Palisades. So we all trust each other as songwriters, and everyone does songwriting and producing on their own. So yeah, I mean, we're working on things. Some things we're working on together. Some things we're not. And I think it's good to not always be together, separate, be our own individual people, and then when we come back together to do something, then it's just going to be like better and stronger. But whether, I mean, like I can't say if it's like a new band that's uh same members as Palisades, but under a different name, that's not happening as of right now. That's for sure. Um, but as far as maybe putting out something in the future under Palisades is not out of the question.
So, like you've said, it's been a 12-year career, and you guys have had a lot of highs and lows, no pun intended.
Nice.
Um, so when you look back on these 12 years, what's going to be the first thing that comes to mind, both on a positive end and maybe a negative end? What are going to be the first memories that come to mind?
Damn. It's pretty weird because the first this is like a quick anecdote, but like I was playing my kit for the first time maybe about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. I just once everything kind of happened when Brandon left, I just didn't really want to touch the instrument. Um, and once we announced everything after that, it was like, okay, like, it felt like this giant rejuvenation because everyone was talking about us. And, there's all this like, hype and hubbub, whatever is happening with the band, good or bad, whatever. It was primarily like a really positive response, but I just remember playing my kit and loading up what would be like the first version of a set list. And as soon as I hit the first song, I was just like overwhelmed with emotion. And I was just like, oh, fuck, like this is going to be like the last. And this was before we announced a second show. And I was just like, fuck, like I could remember buying our first van for the first time. I mean, there's countless stories. If you have 12 years of completely grinding and spending 8 to 9 months out of the year for countless years, there's so much that blurs together, and then there's so many things that do stand out. But um, I remember a lot of our earlier tours. I remember a lot of fights. I remember a lot of really amazing, life-changing moments where we all looked at each other and we were like, you guys are like the best fucking family ever. You know what I mean? It's like I could give you so many different examples and I still feel like each one wouldn't be good enough. But I can say that it's just very overwhelming to take in. And I think the first thing I think about is just, how our career has been. I mean, there has been a lot of highs and lows, and there just really has been a lot that, we could have broken up in 2013. We could have broken up in 2014. There was moments in 2018. And, I think that the biggest thing is that even though we are retiring as an active band, what's important for me to know is that we are ending it again the way that we want to, but we all stuck together with each other. And I think that's like super, super important. Like the people that want to be here are here. And the people that give a shit about the fans and the people that give a shit about the music are the people that are in the band. And the band gives a fuck about everything that's in our realm. So knowing that like I'm with the people that are giving a fuck is like, and there was moments where we didn't speak to each other for a long periods of time. Certain people. I'm like, I don't need to say anything crazy, but like we were not perfect. but we're still best friends and we're brothers and we've got through so much hardship. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm taking away from is like we did this and I'm so fucking proud of us. And that's like so cool. And again, like we get to say goodbye to like our fans in our way. Like we're doing this show like ourselves too. We don't have help from a label. We're not really getting, we don't have a budget as far as like anything that's coming from an agent or promoters or whatever. Like we're doing this show ourselves. We hired everyone. We made sure that this was working. Like we give a fuck. And we did all this, the merch, like Lou fucking did all the merch and graphics. And that was so fucking cool. And like, I don't know, just like coming together again and just still feeling like there's a chip on your shoulder and still having something to prove while still being like, you know what, fuck everyone that ever said that we were like nothing or a joke or whatever. Like any hate, like fuck off. You know, we're doing this for ourselves and we're doing it for our fans, and that's cool. And that's that, you know, that the reception has been so good from that. And it feels good. That's what feels good. It's like we're on our own doing it.
I don't know what kind of answer I was expecting when I asked that question, but that was probably the best one I could have asked for.
Oh, thanks, man.
Part of that answer was you talking about how much your fans mean to you as a band.
Yeah.
And that's something I've noticed a lot in past interviews. You've mentioned how you would play songs for a certain fan who flew across the country, or if someone couldn't get tickets to the show, you'd be like, "Oh, surprise, you're on the guest list now."
Mm.
So to kind of piggyback off of the last question I asked, if you could have one thing that the fans remember you by as a band, what would you want them to remember of Palisades' legacy?
Hmm. There's a lot, but I think the most important thing would be that as far as our legacy goes, the one thing that I've always heard, even in the Mind Games era, which is actually very funny because the Mind Games era is so not what I would expect to hear this particular statement from, but throughout our career, we've always heard that our music has just helped people, whether it be from helping someone deter themselves from making a serious um, decision, either about their life, no matter what it may be, getting them through depression, getting them through a good day. You know, I think that our music is always just, if you're willing to listen to our music and willing to embrace whatever we have to say for whatever song may connect with whoever it is, like the fact that music can alter your mood, it can, you know, it could pick you up. You can listen to someone and say like, okay, like it is very cliche to say like listening to another artist and be like, oh wow, they feel the same as me. But you know what? That's the great fucking unifier about music. Like, yeah, you are able to relate to somebody else and hear their story that might be very close to you in your own way. You know, when you know, I won't get like too into it, but like when my dad died, um, that song "Fray," I wrote a couple of lines of lyrics for that song. And particularly the one first verse, I'm waiting on a prayer that God will never hear. And I've had heard people say to Brandon at that point, you know, how much those lyrics have like changed them and helped them. And I'm not ever one to be like, oh, that was me or whatever. But it's like, you know, writing that made me feel like, okay, this person is going through some bullshit right now, and it fucking sucks. And I know what it's like, and I know what it's like to feel a certain way. And I think that's just kind of it. It's just being able to relate, and I just want people to enjoy your music, whatever emotions you may be feeling or whatever, because you know, I don't know what I would have done without some of my favorite bands and songs and albums. You know, I would have been fucking miserable. And I, as much as there are people out there in the world that say that they can relate to you, you might not be able to connect with that kind of thing. You might not be able to connect with a person on a screen all the time. And when you listen to something like music and there's certain vibrations and frequencies that just resonate with you, and that resonates with you, there's nothing like that. So whoever is able to resonate with our music, I just want them to keep resonating with it. And that's our legacy. And, even on our, I know that we won't be playing anything off of our fifth record, but that's still not to say that it can't be enjoyed either. So throughout our whole discography, if you're able to feel something, feel it to the extreme and like get it out. And I think that's the thing, We were never trying to be like a haven for anybody, but it just happened that some of our songs happen to be that. Even something as obscure as, you know, uh, come over and watch Netflix, which is the original Netflix and chill.
Hmm.
So it was. We were on that before that fucking trend happened. I will say it. That was we were on that. But I think that's what it is. It's just as long as they keep listening, that's all that matters.
So, as far as these shows go, what's it going to be like from a stage, like a performance perspective? Because I know you guys kind of rebranded as far as the color palette goes. There's a lot of oranges, there's a lot of
Yeah.
contrast with black and orange. Is
Mhm.
that going to translate into the lighting grid in the live show? Or
Yeah, yeah, well, we're everything is gonna be orange, black, and white in that venue. It's gonna be sick. Yeah, it's gonna be fucking sick. Like, we were designing the stage a couple weeks ago, and we're starting to get like some props in and some set design stuff. We have a full, we have our lighting rig. Um, we got our new backdrop. We have things. We have things, but primarily, yeah. I mean, the orange is such an important thing, and obviously, like we want everything to be cohesive. So, to
Hmm.
say you're going to see a lot of orange. Oh, hey, mom.
And you guys have some other pretty cool things in the works, like you have Palisades beer, you have you have
Yeah,
all
right.
sorts of stuff. Lou designed a lot of the merch that's going to be at the shows and hopefully online.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So what's the creative process been like for you guys on that front outside of the music?
Well, it's been pretty easy. I mean, to be honest, Lou has had like since he's a graphic designer, he's just able to do everything on a whim, and whenever he has a free moment to do anything, he's just getting it done. So he's been super excited to like get to design the merch again. And it's funny because we were all joking about this. It took us 12 years to finally agree on a logo that we all liked, and we're fucking ending. And it's like, great, man. Like that worked out great. So the cutoff hand with the P is like it's our logo for it'll be our logo for a while. And yeah, he's been like loving just designing everything. It's literally like our group chat is always blowing up of like, hey, I designed these stickers. Hey, I designed this tote bag. Hey, I designed the VIP stuff. Like it's gonna be sick. We're doing this. Which design is this? Like, so the merchandise, we'll see if we're gonna offer it after the live stream and the shows. Um, but as far as the beer goes, Icarus Brewery, which has been, it's actually one of like my favorite breweries. This is not even like, I'm not trying to pimp them out or anything, but they've been like, I've been drinking Icarus beer for like a couple of years now, and they have awesome, awesome porters and stouts that I like fangirl over so hard. So we happen to have a buddy that also works over there and was like, hey, we would love to like help with your VIP event. And like, we would love to, rebrand one of our hazy IPAs as like a Palisades beer and maybe add like a couple different things to it to make it special for the shows. So the beer, I think, is only going to be on sale for the two shows, but I did see something else that on Friday it might drop somewhere, but I don't even know. Like, I'm legitimately confused. So I don't know. I'm not trying to like hint at anything. I'm like, something could happen Friday. I don't know. But so the honestly, like it's so cool. Like being able to collaborate with them has been really nice. And there's other things that I think will eventually come out too that are cool.
I saw something about beanies, and I'm a big beanie person, so
Oh shit, yeah, we did beanies. Yeah.
like I'm straight edge, but even I'm tempted, like if that beer goes online, I'm like,
You know what?
Maybe.
We'll get a can of it, empty it out, wash it out, send it to you.
Oh
At
my
least
God.
it's like stickered and there. So no alcohol required.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Have your people call my people.
absolutely. We'll send like a big old box of just empty cans. But they'll be clean. They won't be drank. They'll be clean. So there's no disrespect there.
Hmm.
It's purely for the collector's collection.
Perfect. Well, on that note, we have now reached my favorite part of every interview, and that is the speed round.
Fuck yeah, let's go.
So I've got 10 questions. You can elaborate as much or as little as you want, but these are probably
Yeah,
rapid fire format, so let's just get right at
let's
it.
go.
Favorite song to play live?
Oh man, that's really hard because they all kind of get old after a while sometimes, but now it's like it's gonna feel like the first time playing all these songs again. I think that either Player Haters Ball or I really liked playing Ghost a lot.
Mm.
And honestly, I loved playing No Chaser back in the day. Like No Chaser was one of my favorite songs to play. They all have like different vibes about them each record, but like Player Haters and No Chaser were super, super just I just resonated with those songs, like the chord progressions and just the way that certain parts hit. And I mean, Player Haters was like a baby for all of us. It was primarily Earl's baby, but like that was the first song that really like defined what the next phase of Palisades was going to be at that era. So, and it just has such a great energy. And what I love about playing that song is I don't, okay, so there's the intro pattern in the beginning, that breakdown chug, whatever, and it's at a halftime. So you're getting the snares like dan dan dan. I I was like massive Enter Shikari fan, and they would always do like this full time shit. So I was like, what if I want to just start doing like the full time for the rest of the song? So we started doing that, and it just like brought the vibe up so much more when we would play, and like there was just so much more jumping and movement, and that one simple change just changed the vibe of the song. And it was for me, that's like I'll have to say Player Haters is like final answer. Yeah,
Favorite city to play in?
that's fucked up. That's fucked up, and I'll tell you why, because there's too many good cities.
Mm.
But I was watching videos the other day, and I'm gonna have to go Paris, France.
I didn't even know
Paris,
you guys
France.
played there.
Oh man, we played so many. Paris is so sick. We played so many times. We played the Moulin Rouge. We played a couple of boat venues that were absolutely insane to play. There was Le Petit Bon, there was Trabajendo, I think. Trabajendo wasn't a boat, or no, I don't think it was a boat, but that I remember that particular show. It was on the hour, it was the first time we went to Europe with Our Last Night. And that tour in particular is always one of our like, it's a go-to. Like you say, like, what's your favorite tour? That's one of the top ones. It's like a top three tour for us. That, yeah, I mean, that show in particular was just like absolutely crazy. And I could find the video of it. And I'm like, fuck, like I wish I could relive that night. It was amazing. So I'd have to go with Paris because every time we played Paris, it was always the people there were absolutely crazy in the best way possible, and it always sounded awesome. Most sound guys in Europe are incredible. So we never really worried about sounding like shit every night. It was like, all right, we know it's going to sound dope every day, especially on that tour. So, but yeah, besides like Tokyo and Chicago, I'd have to say Paris by far.
The band, artist, or song that made you want to become a musician?
Like personally,
Yeah.
oh man, cool. Okay, so like My Chemical Romance, like I I I believe I've said this story once before, but I got to see them when the Black Parade dropped in Jersey at a local record store over here, and that I was actually with Xavier, and that like that night changed my life. I was like, this is what we need to do. Like this is what we have to do for like the rest of our lives. We gotta fucking do music. But like seeing them, seeing the Misfits. My dad was a drummer and he played in bands, and like I always wanted to be a drummer like my dad, so I would have to give like an enormous amount of credit to him for even showing me what music was. Um, so I mean, there's that, but like my favorite band's Led Zeppelin. So like Led Zeppelin's always like when John, I mean, like it's such a typical drummer thing, but like John Bonham's just like the goat. So he was one of the first people, like Neil Peart from Rush. And you know what? I have to give a lot of credit. I'm gonna give them their flowers now, actually. Derek Grant from Alkaline Trio. That man is such an amazing drummer, and I've stolen so much shit from him, even in the way that I'll move my arms. Like I tried studying Derek for so long, and I've got to meet him a couple times, and he was just the nicest human being in the world. So like Derek Grant, honestly, the first drummer for the Devil Wears Prada, Daniel, he was absolutely incredible. He was doing all these crazy fills that no one was doing at that time. Aaron Gillespie. I mean, the list goes on and on. So
Oh
yeah,
man.
I could do this. We could do this interview for another 3 hours just on influence alone. So
I am so glad you mentioned Alkaline Trio because the last time I saw you, you were actually wearing an Alkaline Trio shirt.
oh
And
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, bro, if you weren't going on stage in a couple hours, I could talk to you for days about Alkaline Trio.
No,
Um,
they're absolutely amazing. I think I've seen them like 8 or 9 times.
really.
Yeah, they were absolutely like one of my favorite bands as well. So they're
See,
sick. Yeah, they're
Ru
great.
Rush was my dad's, and he got me into Rush at a young age.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how you talked about that dichotomy, like the Devil Wears Prada and Led Zeppelin. That's
Uh-huh.
how I am with my favorite bands. Like I love Blue Oyster Cult
Yeah.
and Ice Nine Kills. Those are my two favorites.
Which is so funny because like Blue Oyster Cult still has somewhat of a very light horror-esque kind of vibe in some of their shit, and Ink just goes like, "I'm gonna kill you with an axe," and it's like you just see blood and gore everywhere. It's like watching Terrifier 2 as opposed to like I don't know whatever very light horror movie would be.
The original Dracula with no
Yeah,
blood,
something
no
like that.
gore.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, something super old school.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Back to the speed round.
Sure.
The one band or artist that you want to collaborate with the most.
Wow. As far as outside of Palisades or in or still, because
Both.
if it honestly, if it was Palisades, I would have loved. I know. All right, Matt would have loved to done have been able to collab with someone like Joe Hahn or Mike Shinoda. I think that would have been absolutely insane. And you know what? They're the goats in their own right. They definitely don't need to be paying attention to anybody. But even with Lost coming out, they're posting so many covers and embracing so many new artists and stuff like that. Um, that's really cool. And like what Mike has done, even taking out a band like Don Broco out on tour on his solo tour, like that was super cool. So like they're very aware of what's going on, I think, still. So, being able to collaborate with artists and people that were your heroes in that aspect would have been absolutely huge. And could it still happen one day? I mean, I would like to think it could. I don't like to think that anything isn't possible. So if Bring Me the Horizon doesn't do it first, which I'm sure, they're the goats. They're the goats. So I could see that happening. But I mean, me personally, this is really, really out of left field for a lot of the rock crowd, but I would love to have done something with uh, a, an artist like a Rosalia or an art like honestly, I saw Skrillex the other night. It was Skrillex, Fred again, and Fortet, and it was just like a mind altering, crazy musical experience that I was like, ah, man, like I would love to collaborate with someone of that caliber as well, or individuals like that. So I'd have to say all of that.
Favorite tour memory.
Ooh, hmm. Yeah, that's another one that's just like that's too much. That's a lot. I'll say this: there's one tour memory that I do have where it's pretty crazy. We were at the House of Blues in Chicago, and we were on tour with Nothing More. and we were in our green room, having a couple beers, hanging out with some friends, and someone walks through the door unannounced and goes, "I'm looking for God." I'm like, okay, well, I don't know where you're looking, buddy. And it ended up being Jim Belushi. So Jim Belushi, I believe, was playing around that area, or he was just in town checking out the show, maybe. But he ended up just busting into our green room and just being like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like I was like immediately like, "Oh my God!" And then he just kind of like popped in and out, and that was it. So that was like, there's weird moments like that. There's just like super super odd moments where random people just pop in and out. And actually, one moment that I remember, we were playing the Roxy in LA, and this was probably during the Outcasts era, around towards the end of it, I would say. I think actually we were opening up for the Almost at that time. So this is summer. We're on tour with the Almost, and we're loading all of our shit outside. Some guy in a leather jacket walks past us. That guy in a leather jacket just so happened to be Black Bear and Jesse McCartney. So Lou and Black Bear grew up together, and that's how we were able to have him on Player Haters Ball at that time, because they just grew up playing in local bands together. They were super good friends, and he was like, "Holy shit, what are you doing here?" He's like, "What are you doing here?" And that just kind of like triggered this like I don't know, resurgence in their friendship, and they got them in touch again, and then that ultimately led us into having him on the song. So that was like a cool like spur them. I wouldn't say that was maybe one of my favorite moments, but it's just something it's one of those things by chance. Okay, if I could say one thing, a really awesome wholesome moment. Our last night tour, we just played Barcelona. It was one of the greatest shows of all time, and it was maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. Our bus call was at 4, and all of us decided to just walk a mile to the beach, grab a bunch of beer, and just hang out in the middle of the night. And there's just this blanket of stars above you. And we were all just like drinking beer and running around and just being boys on the beach. And it was just like the coolest thing ever. It was the whole tour package. And that was a magic moment. There's nothing like that. And there was never anything I think that was able to capture that either ever again.
And what was your most embarrassing moment on stage?
Oh man, for me, I could tell you a bunch of for everybody else, but there was one moment. We had this thing about we were supposed to cake someone on from the stage. We were playing in Joliet, Illinois, and we were playing this venue called Mojo's, and we were supposed to, Steve Aoki throw a cake at somebody, and the cake ended up being like rock hard. But there goes Matt. Matt, come say hi.
Hi, Matt.
He says hi. Oh yeah, here, put these back.
What's up?
How are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just chatting it up with your drummer, causing
Yeah,
mischief.
yeah, yeah. I'm actually on the way to the airport to get our front of house
Oh,
engineer.
nice. You landed.
Oh,
Yeah, he landed. So
It's all happening.
yeah, it's happening. It's real. All right,
it's
I'm gonna
real.
hand it. I'm gonna hand it back.
All right. Oh man. So what's the question again?
Uh, your most embarrassing moment on stage.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So the cake ended up being like rock hard, and like I think it hit this girl in the face like really hard, and I was just like, that's not how it's supposed to go. It's supposed to like kind of explode. It ended up just being kind of like a brick and just like hitting her. But um,
Oh
there's
man.
I don't know there's just like odd fan experiences sometimes where like fans will uh either ask certain questions or just do something weird. I can't really think of anything right off the top of my head right now, but yeah. Oh, there she goes. Well, you're in the interview. All right, see you. Anyway, um, yeah, I really can't think of anything right now. I have to say, maybe there might have been a birthday where I got iced on stage. I think that did happen to me.
Like an ice bucket challenge sort of thing.
Oh no, like a bunch of Smirnoff Ice came out of the ceiling and popped out of nowhere, and I had to chug them all. So that's like,
Jeez.
it's like, are we gonna play a show, or are you gonna watch me chug these Smirnoff Ices? Come on, guys.
Oh,
But yeah, that was the thing.
your favorite artist that you've ever played with?
Oh wow. Oof, that's really tough. So, okay, what constitutes, because with the amount of festivals that we have done over the years, I would have to say my favorite festival headliner that we watched was Black Sabbath.
I mean, you
That
can't beat
that
Black
was
Sabbath.
no, you you can't, you just can't. And like, yeah, I mean, like, it's hard. You do festivals like Download. You do festivals like the Danny Wimmer festivals out here. It's primarily rock. So again, like a Five Finger Death Punch is a headliner. Rob Zombie was absolutely crazy to watch. Again, Sabbath, Slipknot. When it comes to the stuff that was at like a Reading and Leeds type festival, we got to see like Bastille and Jimmy Eat World and Two Door Cinema Club, or Diplo, cigarette. Like the multi-genre shit is like so much cooler than just like a straight rock festival. But as far as like being on tour with a band and seeing that particular production and show every single night, I probably have to give it to Nothing More, because they were just like out the gate ready to fuck your shit up. And especially the Nothing More of Mice and Men Bad Flower tour, like that lineup, including us, especially at that time, like that was a fucking tour to go to. And everyone was playing so well. So to see that whole tour package and primarily watch them, because we were first every night. So once we were done, I got to chill and watch Bad Flower. I got to chill and watch Of Mice and Men destroy it and still play you digging and like bust out old jams and like absolutely crush it. And then Nothing More is just on another level. So I think as far as that goes, it would have to be that. And then, legendary status, it's like Hyde and Jonathan Davis. See, like but then I could say One OK Rock, and like the list just goes on and on. Like a lot of the headliners, especially during the later part of our career, were just really awesome, and the bands were so sick. The shows are awesome. So, but yeah, as far as seeing like that particular show goes, it's like yeah, everyone that I, I listed, but Nothing More especially gave a really good show, and One OK Rock always sounded like perfect every night. I don't think I've ever heard a more perfect band on a tour that we've been on.
Next question, a place
Yeah,
you haven't performed yet that you really want to.
Australia.
You
That's
guys
easy.
never went to Australia?
We never went to Australia. We never went to
Mm.
Sydney, Perth, Brisbane. None of that. We've always wanted to go. It just never happened. We did. I will say that there was one tour that was being considered. This was a very long time ago, and I think it was with Polaris, and it was going to be. This might have been 2014 or 15, and there was talks of us going for maybe like a couple of days, but that never ended up going through. There's a lot of tours that wish would have happened, that you would have either been considered for, or, you're on the short list, or it's going to happen, and then like it falls through. There's so many tours that we were a part of that, uh, that we were considered for, or again, just unfortunately never happened. So Australia was always one place we always wanted to go. We were trying to do the Hawaii, Australia, Japan route, and it just never happened. We were lucky enough to, as controversial of a answer this might be for some people, but we were very lucky to go to Russia when we did. And I would say that, if you are a musician, you know, Russia, if you played Russia, you know that their shows are fucking crazy. And the fans there are absolutely awesome. And the people there don't necessarily reflect what's going on.
Mm.
So, with that being said, we got to do Tokyo. We got to travel a lot of mainland Europe, the UK, Spain, and Portugal. And that was absolutely breathtaking, incredible. Like, I'll never forget any of that shit. But we all would have loved to go to Australia and play. We all would have loved to go to a Brazil or a Chile or Mexico, any of the South American stuff. I mean, shit, I remember seeing Seven Duster, Memphis Mayfire playing Israel once. I was like, fuck, that would be so sick to go to Israel and play and like see what that's like, you know? So there's still a lot that we never got to do.
Mm.
But again, you know, I don't know. You never know. If the timing is right and something is right, I don't know. I would love to go back there and you know, you never know. One day maybe we'll have an opportunity to give those fans a show that we never got to. So,
Mm.
but as of right now, that's not happening. So it's like, yeah, that's why you got the live stream. So
Oh, surprise, farewell European tour.
you know what? We're all like, oh, come on, we just that would be so sick if we could do like one more. But then that completely takes away like the specialty that um just what it means for these last two shows to be the last two shows, you know. So that's a hard thing too to have to try to balance because you want to give everyone the opportunity and the show, and we want to be able to go to all these other places and say goodbye to our friends. Like there's people in Japan I might not ever see again in my life, you know, that were my friends that I spent months on the road with, or uh, you know, friends that I've made in Manchester, England that we met at a show, and because those people were just so cool, they kept on coming back and coming back, and then we developed friendships with a lot of these people that were just like, you know, I don't know if I'm ever going to see that person in Berlin again, or I'm never going to see, you know, like this, just whoever, you know, and that definitely sucks. So, you know, could we have hoped for that? Yeah, that would have been cool. But, you know, we'll see what happens in the future. I don't know.
Your favorite thing to do outside of music?
My favorite thing to do outside of music is probably I love photography. I absolutely love taking pictures. I love doing video stuff. And that's such a hard question too, because like so much of my life is embedded in music. So it's like, what do you do? But fun fact, I actually started taking voice acting lessons. So
Really?
for voiceover. So that's something that I have been lightly pursuing while the Palisades train is still moving. And I've done like one thing, but besides that, like I've worked as a location scout for a production company that's going to be putting out a bunch of movies this year, and some are going to Sundance and Cannes. So, you know, anything that just has to do with making anything that's like cool, I like fuck with. You know, as long as it's creative, I like it. You know, like I could walk around Brooklyn, New York, have a cup of coffee, do my thing, go thrifting. I don't know, just try to enjoy life as much as I can. That's such a weird answer, but it's like, you know, like just taking things in and trying to do something different is always important for me. Um, so I even tried, well, not try, I've started to like write somewhat of a book based off of some of our experiences. So I don't know exactly where that's going to lean into, but I just try to see where my mind wanders, and if something sticks to it, it sticks. I have severe ADD and ADHD, so it's like really hard for me to concentrate on one thing. So if I'm able to concentrate on it and like really obsess over it, then I think that's like whatever it is, it is. So
I
one
feel
day it
that.
might be comics, the other day it's like, you know, I'm trying to like make a garden in my backyard or something. I don't know. Just whatever I try to do, I just want to be like half-ass enough to eventually go whole ass in. So
Oh my God, I'm using that. That's
hell
perfect.
yeah, dude. Well, I took that from Ron Swanson, Parks and Rec, very last episode. So you can have
Hey.
it.
And the last question, the song you wrote that means the most to you.
Oh, I mean, it would have to be Frey. Yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a lot of lyrics for that one, and what was cool about, especially, Ooh, I mean, especially since the self-titled, we started to all collaborate more on lyrics. And as far as our writing process goes, I also play guitar and bass, and I I was classically trained in piano for 8 years, so my music knowledge is pretty expansive to a certain degree. I'm not a fucking genius, but like I know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, cool. So like I would help write guitar parts or bass parts, or later on it would be like production, because we couldn't rely too heavily on one person to do that. So I kind of helped and step up with that. And I mean, Xavier also did a massive, massive, massive part in stepping up with all that. This is insane. The kid worked like 36 straight hours in the studio one day. It was like, well, over the course of 2 days, he's an absolute creative machine, um, with a soul of gold. um, but yeah, I would have to say it's either Frey, and then like a song that I really enjoyed making. Closure is a song that is kind of ironic for me, because I wrote the instrumental demo here at my house, and it was just about the time when I found out that my dad was sick. So there was still like a good amount of things to like go over and stuff like that. But I was thinking about this the other night. I was like, it's so funny that our last record, the very last song off of it, is a song called Closure, and finding yourself in this place that is, do you sink to the bottom, or do you find light and try to rise above it? And there's for me, there's not a definite answer in that song. And I think it's kind of up to the listener to try to place where you are as a listener in that song. And like, I could either be in a really good space, or I could not be in a good space, but it's left for your interpretation. And I think that Closure is so interesting because it is literally like the last song that you would hear if you played our discography from beginning to end. And having the band come to that particular musical rest, which is another music pun, but to have it come to that is just like, it's kind of like ironic. It's kind of one of those weird things when you look back at like, fuck, like, did we do that on purpose? Like, was there some sort of weird thing? But I just always loved the vibe of that song. I loved how cavernous it sounded. I've always wanted it to kind of sound like a hopeless wanderer that somehow stumbles upon a purpose
Mm.
towards the bridge of the song where it really builds up. So Closure is a song that I really resonate with a lot as well. So funny enough, they happen to be on the last record, even though I'm
Yeah,
not a fan of the vocals. So
I was gonna say because I know Frey has a lot of personal meaning to you, of course,
yeah.
and I was always wondering after the announcement back in October, if if the events that transpired kind of tainted the way that you view that album. Like, even do you try and act like that album never happened, or just what your headspace is with that?
Um, that's interesting. I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to it. I can't. Um, there's a lot of things that are on that record that just aren't Palisades.
Mm,
And I'll say this, the four albums that we're representing as what we are playing for these last two shows are the four out of the five albums of our body of work, including two EPs, um, and other covers and singles, whatever. But the four albums, even though Earl wasn't on the last two of those four, he was still in our lives. And there was still a lot of like milestones reached with those friendships, and a lot of things that were even, I don't want to say consulted, but he had, it's like for us, it's like he never really left, even though he did for the fans and as far as what the band was, but as far as like being a spiritual member of the band, he was always there. And Lou is the voice of Palisades, and there's no getting around that.
Mm.
And I'm the drummer, and Xavier and Matt are the guitar players. Earl's our DJ. He's our producer. He's what he like. We are. This is Palisades. It's the five of us. Me, Matt, and Xavier started the band when we were. I mean, starting in band since we were 14 and 15. I went to high school with Earl. You know what I mean? It's like we're all childhood friends in that aspect. And then you grow up in an adult way with Lou. So as far as Reaching Hypercritical goes as a record, I don't listen to it. It does hurt to listen to. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to try to air dirty laundry or whatever. But that record, even though it's a Palisades record, and there are things about it that are indeed Palisades. There is that flavor, and we did write that music together, and I'm proud of the music. I really, really am. I think it's, I wish some things were different on it to make it a little bit more like cohesive with the rest of our discography, but that's just my opinion with it. Yeah, I would like to think that that record didn't happen. And it sucks because there's a lot of songs that, I would listen to. And there are a lot of songs that we got fans off that record too.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that do enjoy that record. On a personal standpoint, Palisades is Outcasts through Erase the Pain.
That's something I've kind of had in the back of my mind. Like sometimes I listen to it and part of me feels like a bit of guilt for still liking it. But
Well, no, you don't have to. And that's what's cool about it. And that goes back to what I was saying too. It's like if you're able to resonate with one of our songs, like no matter who sung on it or no matter who played on it, whoever was in the band or not in the band at that point, because we also did have another person in the band,
mm,
that was kind of prominent for those first two records. Um, so it's like as long as you fuck with it, I don't care. As long as it helps you in some way or it lightens your mood or whatever, then that's fucking awesome. And that's all I give a shit about. Like if you want to like it, go ahead and like it. If you like Sick of the Attitude more than whatever you want it to be, that's not going to hurt my feelings. But there's a certain attachment with making that music and being in that band at that time that no one else will get. And there's a lot of fans that also do feel, I don't want to say betrayed by certain things, but another Palisades pun for first record. But I'm just gonna have to go back and say it. It's those first four records. That's what Palisades is, and that's what Palisades did best. The sixth record, the shit that we were starting to write though was like fucking. It was cool. It's cool. It's cool shit. So whether that sees the light of day or not, I don't know, but it is really fucking cool.
fingers crossed it'll see the light of day because
Yeah.
the way I am, like I listen to so much music, I can never get enough, especially when I become invested in bands like you and like Ice Nine Kills. It's like as soon as an album comes out, I'm like, okay, this is the greatest thing ever. But when's the
Mhm.
next one?
Yeah, no, I mean and that's crazy too because it's like once you put your record out, it's like that's it. You're
Yeah.
done. Like you're either gonna have a touring cycle or something is gonna go to radio or someone's gonna put a fuck ton of money behind you in order to get this accomplished or whatever. And there's a lot of politics and a lot of money to be thrown around. And they put it behind certain people and that's the way that it is. And like there are artists out there that can't keep up with that demand at the same time where it's like I just literally fucking broke my heart out and wrote a bunch of shit already. Like I can't do that right now. Like
Yeah.
I think Mick from Slipknot said it when I was watching a documentary about Slipknot, and he was just like, you can't force a painter to paint a picture. You're not going to force me to write a fucking song if I don't want to.
Yep.
And luckily for us, we were always a band that wanted to keep writing and stuff. So we were always like writing on the road. We were always writing in hotel rooms. We were writing a lot while we were on, album cycle three or whatever. You know, we're already writing for the next one. So, um, yeah.
Well, on that note, that was everything I had for you. Was there any final message that you wanted to send out to any Palisades fans watching this?
Yeah. You know, I think there's so much to be said. Again, 12 years is a long time to be a band and have people support you and also not emotionally be invested, but also be financially invested into what you do in your band. And that is something that we don't try to take for granted. And I think that's another reason why we want to give people the live stream event and give these two shows everything that we possibly can, because it's our way of saying thank you for supporting us for so long. Thank you for sticking through us through the worst of times and the best of times. And it's been something that we don't take lightly. We know that fan we have certain fans that have come to over 60 Palisades shows in their lifetime,
I
have
wish.
traveled have traveled all over Europe or have traveled all over the US or whatever. Like, people have spent their hard-earned money to either buy a t-shirt, buy one of our albums. I mean, excuse me, shit. I mean, there would be times where there were fans so dedicated that they would they'll bring gifts, and that's a really common thing too. You have fans that are so thoughtful and like know what your interests are, and that's another thing about being relatable. And it was just so cool. It's like, you know, I'm not asking for shit, but fans will bring me Kit Kats from Japan or pop figures or comic books or literally 6 pounds of chocolate, like making
Bro.
their I know it's insane, and like making their own merch or bringing us to a restaurant that they work at, or you know, giving us free passes to Disney or whatever. Like, whatever. We've gotten so many crazy gifts, and it's like it's 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 crazy and it's hard to accept, but you know, you do it. You don't want to be rude, and also like it is very cool to have people give a shit about what you do enough that they're also showing their appreciation back. And it's just this big cycle of showing each other like, hey, like, we appreciate what you do. And it's like, oh no, we appreciate what you do. And it's like, oh no, but we appreciate what you guys do, because we would never be a band without our fans. And I think that's just, you know, that's kind of like the final sentence about it. It's like we would not be anything without the support of our fans. No matter if we were playing in front of two people in Mobile, Alabama, 2013, or playing in front of 10,000 people in fucking Tennessee, or playing, you know, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you gave a shit about Palisades, thank you. That is it. Like, thank you for all of the love. And hopefully we'll be able to, you know, make everybody proud on the 25th and 26th. Primarily the 25th, because that's the one that everyone's going to see. But, you know, it's been a good run. And while it's going to be a closed chapter for a while, you know, you never you never know when the book can open up again. So I'll say that I know we're not going to be playing shows, but you know, hopefully we can release some unreleased things and some other things along the way to, you know, still show the fans that we're there and we still give a shit. And you know, we're still all friends doing we're still doing it. So yeah, it's I don't know. The next time you see Palisades, it might look a lot different. I don't know. I don't know when you're going to see it again. I don't know when I'm ever going to see it again. I would love to know, but you know, let's just enjoy this last ride. That's it. Yeah,
That's perfect. Well, with that, first of all, thank you so much for the time. I've had a
of course,
blast
man.
talking with you.
Thank you.
Um, to
Same.
anyone who's going to be watching this, thank you for watching and probably see you on the live stream.
Yeah, you saw my mom. She walked in. You got to see Matt for a little bit. It was a good time. It was a good family experience.
It's a family reunion.
Oh my God, you have no idea. It's gonna be a shit show. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh man. Well, Thank you again to you and to everybody watching. Until the next interview, stay tuned, stay scared, and I'll catch you later. Peace.